Hi everybody, and welcome back to Kevin's Upfront Opinion today. So, what I thought I'd speak about, because last night I was at home on my own, my wife and all my kids were staying at my in-laws, and I thought I'd watch Andrew Gold. And for anybody who doesn't know who Andrew Gold is, Andrew Gold hosts YouTube channel Heretics. And I love watching Heretics because even some of the people he gets on there, I don't personally agree with. Some I do agree with. I like to hear what other people say. You know, I don't want everybody agreeing with my personal opinion. And last night's episode, I've got to admit this, and Andrew, if anybody shows you this, don't take this personally, it was the worst episode I'd ever seen. Okay, and before you take it personally, the reason I say it is you never did anything wrong. You held him to task and you made, what was his name? Steve Laws look like a complete and utter moron. Okay, that's what he looked like. He looked like a complete and utter idiot. Because anybody that does a podcast, does their research about the person, decides what questions they're going to ask, thinks about the type of answers that they're going to potentially get, and a way to navigate. You know, Andrew Gold is not stupid. You know, he's been doing it for long enough, you know, but he knows how to present it. If I went on there and Andrew Gold contacted me, I would be shitting myself with the things that he could potentially say about me or anything he could dig up about me. But in this actual video, he made the guy look like an absolute idiot. And the reason is, now if you take, for instance, the title, Britain's Biggest Racist, I don't think Steve Laws is Britain's biggest racist. I think he's extremely delusional. He's living his life in denial. He's got some ideas, okay, but they're not realistic ideas. There's potential for them. So when he goes on the record and says that my people, I'm not his people. Okay. King Charles can say my people. The Prime Minister can't say my people. I'm not under Keir Starmer at the end of the day. Okay. The King can say that. Got no problem with him going on record saying that. So when Steve Laws says my people, I'm not Steve Laws's people. Okay. Now, what does he want? He wants everybody to leave this country that can't trace that ancestry right back. And guess what? Steve Laws can't trace his ancestry right back. He said in the video, he's only 98% English. He's 2% Irish. Now, I've done ancestry, okay? I've done the DNA testing and everything. I'm 95% English. Okay, that's what I am. Okay, the other 5% is mixed up with Scotland, Ireland, because my great grandfather, my nan's dad, came from the Republic of Ireland. Okay, not Northern Ireland, comes from Southern Ireland, Republic. Okay, and Central Europe. And when I say Central Europe, it's been alleged. Well, when you look at the ancestry, around the Germany area. Okay, that's what I mean by Central Europe. So that's where the other 5% comes from. So in Steve Law's books, I should be removed from the UK, from England. But where do I go? I've lived in England all my life. I only speak one language, which is English. I can speak a little bit of French. I know a couple words in German, only to swear in. Okay, which I get in trouble with my wife when I've taught my my 10-year-old son them words. He doesn't know what any of them mean before anybody says anything. Okay, So I'm as English as they come. Okay. So the reality is, if you're going to say, I want everybody to be removed from the UK or England that can't trace their ancestry back before 1066, because he went on the book of the Norman invasion, and he even spoke about the Vikings as well. I'm sorry, it's not realistic. You're making yourself sound like an absolute moron. And when you say, or when you get asked, how are you going to actually check? So if you take, for instance, the population of UK is what, around about 50, 60 million? So you've got 50 to 60 million people to check. Okay, and you say, oh, we'll do it through medical records. Medical records aren't going to do it. Birth certificates aren't going to do it. I've got six children, but all biologically mine. Okay, and what's on their birth certificate? The father, the mother, date of birth, and their religion, and their nationality. Okay, now I put my nationality as British. My wife put it as British. Our religion is Church of England for both of us. We go to church. Okay. And we put our date of births on there. Okay. Now I can be Jewish. Okay. I could potentially say that I'm Jewish, or I could say that I'm a Muslim. Doesn't mean that any of my heritage comes back from the Middle East or Israel, or I believe there's a certain type of Jews that come from Eastern Europe as well, which don't come from the motherland of Israel. Okay, so when it comes to Steve Laws, and I ain't got a general problem with him, and he can send all the hate that he likes, he can send all his followers giving me abuse and everything. I've got thick skin. I'm 47 years of age. I've worked in the home improvement industry all my life, as in specifically double glazing. And so I've been called every name under the sun. There's nothing you can say about me that I haven't been called in the past. Okay. So the reality is, what does he actually need to do? Okay. If you're going to go on these podcasts, you need to kick your brain into gear. You need to think about what you actually want. What's his actual idea? Okay. And then think about how realistic it is. Because I'm sorry to say this, Steve, and you seem like a lovely guy and everything. Your idea, and Andrew Gold told you this, your idea is not realistic one bit. If you was to say, as an example, anybody that's come to this country in the last 100 years, let's say since the Second World War, so since the end of the whole of the Second World War, so we'll say 1945, anybody since 1945, I believe, needs to leave. Now that's realistic. Okay. Now a lot of people may not like that, but you've got an idea which is realistic to implement. So if you became Prime Minister tomorrow, you could realistically implement that. That'd be realistic to do. But when you talk about, I want to get rid of anybody that's come to this country in the last 1,000 years, or even 2,000 years, that is not realistic to do. Because you would get rid of virtually all of the population of England. Okay. And that is realistic. And especially when you announce, and Andrew Gold asked you, and you said this on video, and he asked you, have you ever actually done your DNA? And you said yes. And you said, I'm only 98% English. And he asked you, where's the other 2% from? And you said, Ireland. So from that point of view, you need to clear off and get out of my country. I don't need to get out of your country. You need to get out of my country, because from what you've actually said, you have no right to be here. You are not 100% English. No matter what your narrative is, how you want to spin it, you are not 100% English. And you've said you only want people that are 100% English in this country. End of story. Okay. So all I've really got to say to you is go back to the drawing board. Think again. Okay. Think realistically what's feasible. And then get in contact with Andrew Gold. Because Andrew Gold gave you every opportunity on that podcast. He gave you every opportunity. Okay. And I'm sorry to say this, whether you like this or not. Okay. You did make yourself look stupid. You know, and it wasn't a case that he was setting traps for you. Because he wasn't, not really. You know, I've seen him speak to people before, and he set loads of traps for them to fall into. And he gave you every opportunity to get out of them. So go back to the drawing board, then get back in touch with him, and then go on again and go on other podcasts. Because I think that's what you need to do. But for now, everybody, thanks for watching. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Go and watch Andrew Gold at Heretics. He's absolutely brilliant. I love Andrew Gold. Okay, but for now, thanks for watching, and I'll speak to you all again a bit later.